Hello, I'm BX Toycat, and welcome back to another podcast. This is episode 4 of the Toycat Show, an audio-only show I run on the second channel where I talk about gaming news, technology news, business news, and YouTube news that's important to me and that I'd like to share my opinion on. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. And before we can start on any of that, I wanted to kind of follow on from the comments of last week because we got, I like to address the important comments, and I got a really important one that was like, so Toycat, how are you going to order this whole thing? Because you might notice there's no proper numbering system, and it's also not even on a regular basis. It's like, I think it's been 5 days since the last one, which was 3 days after the previous one, and I kind of like that. I think, the news doesn't happen on a regular basis, so the podcast might not necessarily happen on the regular basis, but yeah, today we do have a lot of juicy news, and also, the way I'm going to fix that problem is probably just have a playlist, so you can listen to them in order if you want to. I do worry, though, because it's gaming news focused, it might, like a year's old news might not be so relevant, but we'll see, how it develops, and we can work as we go. As I said, I like to wing things as you go. I think unplanned plans are the best plans, and although that makes no sense, you might think, if you're not planning a plan, is it really a plan? And I'm just gonna satiate the word plan if I keep talking. So yeah, that's kind of that right there. So let's get straight into the first story, which has to be YouTube Red. So I spoke about YouTube Red last week, and you might be like, oh, Toycat, we get the point, you're a YouTuber, you're affected by YouTube Red, but they have actually revealed some new details, and these new details are horrendous. So I believe I mentioned how, worst case scenario, YouTubers will lose like a few percent of their revenue, best case scenario will gain a few percent, and it'll be nice. Basically, the new YouTube Red thing has kind of changed that, and it's horrendous, basically, because YouTube Red, like a lot of other subscription services, I think it's following on from Apple Music, Google Play Music, and a few other services, have decided to implement a free trial. This free trial is 1 month, so it's basically, $9.99 if YouTube Red for free, and you might be like, wow, that's pretty generous. That's $10 of value they're giving away for free, except it's actually the least generous thing they've ever done, and it's kind of the opposite of generosity, and let me explain why. So, we thought there'd be a free trial at first, but presumably it would be paid, but it has now been confirmed that there is going to be a free trial for anyone in the US who wants to, use YouTube Red for a month, and not only this, but it's going to be a free trial where they do not compensate the people who are making the videos. So basically what YouTube are offering are people to just turn off ads for a month, and they're not going to pay people for the ads that you're missing, and that just sounds so horrendous, because like I mentioned last week, the people who are willing to pay for YouTube Red and the people who want to try it out, all those sorts of people, they're the ones that advertisers kind of want the most. But not only that, but since it's only, it is only US users, so it's not going to be 100% of people who isn't watching ads, this means that for the month of November, anyone watching in the US has the ability to just turn off ads on videos, which, for certain people, that's like a really, really bad thing, because November is a really big season, especially for gamers, and because, with loads of games coming out, all the people that make their living playing these games are actually going to be really badly screwed in November, because, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It's not going to be, they're taking away all the money, but they're taking away a decent chunk of it. I think, YouTubers are going to lose something like 10-20% of their revenue, all because YouTube Red is offering this trial. And to quickly address the core thing here, should YouTube Red have a trial? Probably. Should YouTubers be compensated? Yeah, I think it's really unfair to say, okay, we're going to offer a free trial and we're so generous. Oh, except we're not the ones really suffering from this. It's actually all those content creators. Because yeah, it's just the worst thing. I don't know how they're allowed to just do this. They didn't get any agreement. Well, technically they did get agreement, but we didn't just give them blanket agreement to give people a free month trial, and it's a really, really terrible thing. And the reason it's terrible isn't just because it's a free trial and they're taking away 10-20% of YouTube earnings, because for me personally, and I know something like, let's say 60% of YouTubers, like the majority of YouTubers, if they lose 10-20%, they're not out on the streets. Personally, I try to live a life with low expenses, so I can take this 10-20% drop and just be like, oh, I guess I have less money. It sucks, but that's whatever. But the thing that really sucks about this is the time they're doing it is the worst humanly possible time. Not only because, like I mentioned, November's game season, it's not only when, the new Call of Duty game comes out, the new FIFA game might already be out, but, all those new games coming out, Fallout 4 is going to be a big one. I know all the games I'm excited for this year all come out in November, and this means November, for gamers on YouTube, is a massive time. And to hear that during this very, very big time for gamers, guess what, you're losing potentially 10-20%, maybe even more. If all the US users, if it's turned on by default, that's like 40-50% of viewers just turning off all their stuff. And it's not just 40-50% of viewers not having ads, it's 40-50% of the viewers with the best paying ads not having ads. So they're taking a massive, massive fraction away from YouTubers with absolutely no choice. Your options are, you press sign up and you agree to this, or you don't press sign up. All your videos are privated. That's right, YouTube won't show your videos to anyone anymore. And it's just like, why YouTube? What is that? But yeah, sorry. It's not only terrible because it's primetime season for video games, but it's terrible because of the fact that it's primetime season for video games, and just in general, it's close to December where all the best ads are. It means that this is probably the second or third best month in the year for advertisements. So this is a month where lots of people, they're expecting to make their money for their Christmas bonuses, if you will, and basically, they're gonna have that cut away from them. Really, this service could have launched in a time where ads basically don't pay anything. If it launched in January, like if you don't know, ads pay something like 2 or 3 times more in December than they do in January. The best time to launch it would be in January, because everyone's like, we're making next to nothing anyway. What's another 10% off there? But if they launch it, then by February, things recover because the YouTube Red bonus will be way better than the ads then. However, now what's going to happen is YouTube Red launches for free in November, so they take off that 10-20% of the, November earnings, and then in December, a lot of people will cancel their trials, but that's when the first month of paying YouTube Red people will be there, and it's kind of just the worst thing because, like I said, YouTube Red, depending on how you use it, it can be worth more than ads, it can be worth less than ads to the creators, but in December, it's going to be a really, really hard-pressed thing to make YouTube. If you're watching, 4 videos a day ad-free, I don't know why you'd pay for that, but, if you're watching like 4 videos a day, yeah, those people make more than the ads, but for the most part, they're taking the 2 months of very, very valuable ads, and they're cutting people off then, and it's just so ridiculously minded. I cannot think why YouTube Red would launch now. They have been planning this all year. Why not give it a little bit more of a delay? If it's been in the works for this long, why not do that? Because not only is it, kind of bad because of the fact that, like I said, I'm a YouTube creator that can kind of deal with 10-20% loss, but that doesn't mean that everyone can. A lot of YouTubers who are doing it full time are, just barely breaking even or just barely making their stuff, and it's kind of questionable like that. So yeah, it sucks as far as the finance side of things go. I really don't know if, I guess the team who are working on this don't interact with the ad team maybe, and they just don't know the ideal months to bring out. Maybe they want to bring it out in the best period of the year, so that way in January when it's, it's in its near peak, then it'll be like, so now you're making more money in January because YouTube Red will almost certainly pay more than the ads then. Maybe that's their plan, but it's just so horribly coordinated by itself, and that's not only why it's so bad. So they're kind of rushing this out because there's actually quite a lot of content. I think they said 1% of content so far hasn't been approved for the new rules. So as soon as this, YouTube Red changes happen, as soon as there is subscription available on YouTube, something like 1% of the videos are going to be gone from the site. This is because not only providers like ESPN, they basically, lots of people have agreements where they can have their their stuff shown in ad-based views, but they can't show it for a subscription. And YouTube Red breaks that because you can't not show your stuff to subscription. So lots of stuff is going to go missing from YouTube. Dead channels, I think I mentioned dead channels in the first episode, in fact, but a lot of dead channels can't click the new notice, so that means that their stuff goes private, and a lot of content's just going to vanish from YouTube. My old channel, actually, I don't know the password to my old channel anymore. All the stuff on that channel is going to go private, and there's nothing you can do about it. It just vanishes. So dead channels, inactive channels, and big channels where they actually have agreements with YouTube, they're all going to just vanish. And the fact that it's so horribly timed is just... I went from this thinking, okay, this is this has potential to be pretty good. I'm not going to complain about a potential 2% cut, because maybe I make 2% more money. That'd be pretty swell. Wouldn't you like a 2% raise? But I was like, what, 2% either way, it's fine. But now the way they're doing this with the free trial and then presumably an automatically rolling subscription, they're making people go big on this. And we all know what happens when YouTube make people go... Google make people go big on things. Think about Google Way. Think about Google Plus. That social network we all use. Yeah, so, this is terrible. To kind of reflect beyond just why this is bad on YouTube's behalf, because, maybe there is good motive, so maybe you've been like, toycat, you're not understanding my opinion here. If we say that it's a reasonably okay planned decision, the thing is, the way they've done it, and the way they've polarized YouTubers, and not even, the way they've said, by the way, you're taking a pay cut, that's non-optional, you already signed the thing. Basically, that means a lot of YouTube creators are saying, boycott YouTube Red, because basically, when you sign up for YouTube Red, you are saying, I'm not going to pay creators this month. Like when you buy YouTube Red, it's kind of like ad block, but you have the benefit of, actually knowing that you support the creators that watch the videos, because I know that's important to a lot of people. I think it's important to me. I deliberately, make sure I watch ads, because it's kind of how ad support ecosystems work. But when you have the free trial, you don't get any of that. You're helping YouTube and not the creators themselves. And I think, YouTube don't realize that. Why would you? So yeah, that's terrible system. It has the potential. By January, I think we might be liking YouTube Red. But to make the people who this is meant to support hate it beyond belief for the first 2 months, I really don't know what they're thinking there. I think cutting off 1% of YouTube content to give away a free trial for something where, because they're going to lose some money too. They're basically paying the server cost for free on those people. I'm just so beyond belief that this is a thing. I don't know. It's not available for me to download because I'm not in the US as far as I know, but I really want to try out YouTube Red because I want to see what, those exclusive shows are like, and I kind of want to see what that background contents were like, that they think it's so good that, kind of by itself they can do this. Because the ad turn-off stuff, it's something another service offers, it's something that, they're not even supporting the creators, so we'll have to see. YouTube Red might be a good move, and we'll know by, January, but for the first 2 months, to alienate every single creator on the site is just such a bad move. So, yeah, that's kind of a bummer of a story, and I can spend 11 minutes talking about it, apparently. But let's move on. There is other news today, besides ranting angrily at YouTube Red, and that actually comes in the second story, comes in from Assassin's Creed. So, Assassin's Creed is a series you've probably heard something about. I hear they're pretty popular games. Personally, my experience of them is I haven't played one in a very long time. I think the last Assassin's Creed game I played was Black Flag, because they brought it out for free on the Xbox Live. But, Assassin's Creed isn't a series I think is worth paying for, but it is one of the major AAA releases each year. It just released about a week ago in the worldwide basically, and we have sales figures from the UK that show that it's actually lost its peak. And I thought I'd talk about these figures because they're being cited over a lot of places as saying Assassin's Creed is the downfall, because Assassin's Creed Syndicate didn't sell as well as any other main series game, and that means that the game's going to go the way of the Guitar Hero or of the Call of Duty, where it's just going to drop in sales until eventually it becomes unviable. And maybe that is the case, but I will quickly say that these statistics aren't necessarily the most trustworthy thing, because it is just the UK only, and it is just retail only. And bear in mind, digital sales are growing, even though the Xbox One digital experience sucks. If you don't know, you pay £55 for a game, which is over £40. So I guess in US dollar equivalent, that'd be like $80 as opposed to $60. They charge you more for the service that costs them less. It's bad. But yeah, basically it's only retail copies, and it's only in the UK. So just take these figures with a grain of salt. They aren't the end-all be-all, but they are an indicator. So they're the indicator that the Assassin's Creed series is going down. And some people are like, well, this is one of the best games in the series. And the thing I think a lot of people don't realize when it comes to video game sales is video games don't sell on their own merit if they're in a series. If you think about any major series, the sales of a game are based on the quality of the previous game to some extent, because if you have a yearly release, you want to have a game where people, they don't hate the game by the end of the year, and they kind of want the new one where they're like, okay, we're kind of done with it. Like if you release the best game ever, and had let's say Fallout 4 releases this year, and it's amazing and it has thousands of hours of content. If people aren't done with it by the time Fallout 5 releases, that can hurt it. But I think more realistically, if there isn't going to be a Fallout 5 next year. I know that for a fact, by the way. Well, I don't know it for a fact, but it's not happening, just to quickly clarify. But yeah, so let's say Fallout 4 did release this year, and it was terrible. It was beyond belief terrible. And then Fallout 5 comes out next year, and, even though it's a really good game, it's going to have less sales than Fallout 4 did, because Fallout 4 sold on the expectations of the Fallout series so far, and Fallout 5 sells on the expectations of the series so far. So I think this game didn't do well because Assassin's Creed, I've got the name of it, the one set in Paris, I don't know why its name is escaping me right now, Unity, that's the one. Basically, it had a lot of flaws in the game, it was buggy, it was broken, and they had to do loads, they cancelled the season pass. Basically, it was one of the biggest disasters for Ubisoft in a while, and I think that's the reason this game isn't selling well. So that's kind of the point I wanted to raise here. I think Syndicate not selling well isn't necessarily the tipping point in the series. I think by the time the next one, whatever's coming out the year after rolls around, I think then we'll know if it's heading downwards. But Assassin's Creed has been around for quite some time. I mean, it started as just kind of like a fun kind of side project game, right? And then it just turned into this gargantuan series. Maybe it's going to, go back the other way. Maybe we'll get a smaller budget, smaller team, and do some cool stuff. Or maybe this game revives it. I've heard really good things about Syndicate. Or in fact, actually, I'll kind of recover that, because I've heard really good things from people who like it. Generally speaking, people like the gameplay, and people like the diversity of the characters, which is a weird thing to judge a game on, but people generally speaking have been pretty critical of the microtransactions. So I'd like this to go down. If this game doesn't do well and the next one doesn't, I'd like it to be known that it was microtransactions that killed these games, and I just think that would be a great thing to have memorized. So because I believe the way it works is I think the Unity was the first game microtransactions. If this one has it too, then I just want the industry to know people don't like microtransactions. You might make more money on microtransactions, but you're going to lose a lot more customers than it may. I think long-term, microtransactions ruin your game. I think that's going to have to be a fact. Hopefully that's what they learn here, and I think that's all I really have to say about this. I don't really like Assassin's Creed too much, I'll be honest. That's why I struggle to remember the name of last year's game. But just to quickly say, this year's sale targets don't necessarily say that the game failed or has succeeded yet. We have to wait till next year. So that's kind of the end of this story. Let's move on to the next one, which is a really cool one, which I've been following. And again, it's technology news that I think probably should be more out there, because this story covers something that's pretty important. So basically, the EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, I believe they fight for video games and rights of electronics and stuff. It's pretty cool. They have a lot of dodgy stuff, but they generally actually do quite a lot of really cool things. Basically, they have been lobbying with the DMCA Act, because basically, well, the A in DMCA stands for DMCA Act. But yeah, the DMC Act or whatever, the DMCA, it's a really, really popular copyright law that kind of covers most things. Basically, under the DMCA, what used to happen is you couldn't break the game and do stuff with it because you would be, breaking that. And basically, they wanted an exemption for this for the purpose of archiving. So basically, if you need to break a game for the purpose of showing it, so for instance, if there is games that do not work because, they have authentication that doesn't work, you're allowed to break that and, go through that for a bunch of different purposes now, mostly when it comes to archiving. So if you want to what I mean by that, basically, I think the Games Windows Live program used to exist. It basically used to be PC gaming by Microsoft. It was a weird thing, but a lot of games required you to log into that to prove your copy was legit. But now the service doesn't exist, those games can't actually be played. And basically, for the purpose of being able to play those games, instead of just saying, oh, well, the game's unplayable, I guess we're done. Now, instead what happens is, you can just breach that for the purpose of showing off the game. So this means museums, this means a bunch of stuff like that can actually go through and do that with games. Unfortunately, this doesn't cover multiplayer games. So I'm sure at some point in your time, if you played a lot of games, you've probably come across a game which is dead, whether it's, in practice or just in theory. But a lot of games have servers, to keep their stuff going. And either, they just stop running the servers because it's too expensive for a game that no one plays, or they have servers, and it's just too expensive to run servers for a game that people are still playing, but that, launched years ago. So let's say if Halo 2 was still online, like running the Xbox original servers for a game that, hundreds of people might play, it might just be a ridiculous cost that benefits Microsoft in no way. That's an example. I remember actually when they did shut down the Halo 2 servers, it was like kind of a big thing because they made it so that they wouldn't shut them down until people left the server. So I think it was like the 2 last people just played for like 5 days straight. It was a pretty cool story. But yeah, basically, that still is illegal to do. You cannot host your own multiplayer game servers. When the multiplayer goes offline, those games are still dead, but they're being lobbied against. But now when a single-player game goes offline forever, it has been, kind of made legal for you to go back and fix that. And I think that's really cool, because if you think about, video game history, through, through like the start of gaming, all the way till, the Xbox original PS2 era, and probably mostly through there too. But as far as that era goes, on the PC, all games are available. We can play them if we can get the hardware, plug it in. It's awesome. But after that, we run into the issue of some games require online. Some games are online only. I remember I picked up, or my brother gave me Chrome Hounds for the for Xbox 360. Oh, it doesn't actually work. You just cannot play the game. And the game is being sold. You can go home, you can you can go to the store, look at the case, be like, this game looks awesome. Put it in your console, no online servers. It's an online only game. That sucks. And yeah, basically, I think the fact that they're trying to preserve this is awesome. I think there are I think the big gaming moments are probably going to be preserved regardless of this thing. But I think, preserving every single game is important. I think just losing, like the game Chrome Hounds, I think probably most of you haven't heard it, but it did pretty well, I think. And the fact that it will just be vanished forever is a scary thought. I don't like the idea that, Call of Duty 4, for instance, it's a first-person shooter a lot of people play. Imagine it wasn't popular. Imagine it was just your little secret. Imagine just not being able to ever play it again one day, like, no matter what you did. That would be terrible. And I think the idea of, museums for old games is something that should be a more common idea, and I hope that it does get pushed. It might not seem like a real thing. You might think, oh, now everything's digital, it's pretty easy. But I think, with different medias becoming eventually, like, really close to impossible to read, I think preserving digital stuff is going to be important. Imagine if there was just 100 years of history between 1200 and 1300 where a lot of stuff we just didn't know. And that's probably true for some point as far as we go back. But, if we can preserve stuff for the future, let's do that, I think when it comes, with gaming, like I said, I really like my video games. They're kind of a big part of my life. I'd like it if in, 30 years, there's some way I can go back and play these games. I'd like that, but maybe that's just me. Let me know what you think. as always, with the comments off the YouTube thing. If you're listening to this somewhere else, then I did a good thing and put the podcast somewhere. In fact, I might make my project for this week to put the podcast somewhere else. But yeah, I hope you did all enjoy episode 4 of the Toycat Show. If you are on YouTube, you can like it and let me know. Sharing, as always, is always appreciated. If you have someone else who likes podcasts, or you want to introduce someone to a podcast, or just share the news or something, I don't know. You know what you're sharing for way better than I ever could. But yeah, that would be appreciated, because I do like this Toycat Show thing, and I like it to be a real thing. But that's just me. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all, or hear you all, except you'll hear me all in the next podcast. So bye.